Right, go ahead.
Okay, my father was born in Wales. He was born in Pontypool. His father was, I'll get there in a little while, but his father was also born in Wales, and the problem with the Welsh is that prior to 1860, they did not record the Welsh. And so we have no records apart from church records of the Welsh.
The Welsh didn't record themselves either?
They couldn't read or write. And so,
There was no written language, or they just
no,
couldn't?
my grandfather could not read or write.
But there was a written Welsh language by
There
then?
was,
Okay.
but the problem was that it was all written in the church, and so that's where it was. Now, probably these days, they've started coding them or whatever they do, and you can probably find some of these people.
Right.
But you're never really sure, and I've never gone to Ancestry.com and really checked it out, and never really been that interested. But my great-grandfather, okay, my great-grandfather, we've got him nailed down, but my grandfather, never been sure about. Not sure about him. He may be this guy or he might be that guy.
So your father is 100% Welsh, and your mother is 100% English?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you're about 50.
I think my ancestry says something like 48% Welsh and 49% English and 1% something else.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it says 1% something else. I think it's like 50% English or something. Yeah, it's almost, pure British.
So British? Yeah, so you're pure British, because Welsh and English is British.
That's correct.
Yep.
Right.
And wasn't he a carpenter and he had his own system of measuring?
He was a coal miner.
Coal miner.
Yeah, and he became. Are we recording this or not? And he was a coal miner, and then he later on in life he became a sniffer, and he was really, really, really smart, and he could actually do math in his head, no problem.
What's a sniffer?
I'll come into that. So he worked down the coal mine, but what he did was he noticed things, and he noticed where the coal seams would go. And so later on, what he did was he quit being a coal miner, and he would go down there, and so the coal mines would actually hire these guys that would come in to find where the coal was, and they didn't find it. So they called in my grandfather, and he would go in, and he would sniff out where the coal was, and then he would get paid commission based on how much coal they dug out of that coal seam, and he made a lot of money.
So he just figured it out with his eyes, or he sniffed with his nose?
No, he didn't. He just sniffed with his brain.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
it's just like slang.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So he sniffed with his brain, and he made a lot of money. He used to have a coffee pot up on the mantel shelf, and it was stacked with gold pound notes, pounds, and that would always be up there. Anybody needed money, that's where he'd dip in and take it, and off he'd go. And he made sure his children were educated, and then he gave most of the money to the church. And waved bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, I wish we had it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you consider your family wealthy or poor growing up?
My mother was extremely poor, but she did own her own house because my parents bought that in 1935, and by now it was 1951, so probably they had a little bit of insurance money that paid that off, and after that she was extremely poor until she married Sean in 1954, yeah, and so then came back. But Sean never ever really had a lot of money, but he was always frugal, and so he always had, a small amount of money all the time. He never ever got a pension because he didn't believe in unions, and he never would join a union. And so the union called him in one time and said, these union people want you to join the union. He said, I'm not joining the damn union. And he looked at them and looked at the union people, and he said, you know what, he works like hell. What would I want to let him go for? So he never ever joined the union, so he never ever got a pension. So what he got when he retired, that's another story, come to think about it. When he retired, what he got was a scroll with 51 on it, printed in Latin. And it was a neat scroll, and that was it, and he could hang it up on the wall. Never got any money.
What did that mean? The 51?
He worked in there for 51 years.
Oh.
51 years.
Can you imagine? Same job, 51 years.
And he was a steel worker, you said?
Yeah, 51 years.
And he was really strong.
Oh, he was.
He said strong as an ox.
Well, he used these big scissors to cut
Yeah.
the sheet.
If they
Do that
screw-
again.
if
He
they-
used some big scissors
Yeah.
to cut the
Yeah,
sheet steel.
If they screwed up on the width of the steel, he'd be there with his scissors cutting
Wow.
cutting it off on each side. Unbelievable.
Well, and then he picked up a car, didn't he? Picked up the
Yeah.
front end of a
He
car.
was 88 when he picked up a car.
Just for no reason? Just for
No,
fun?
it was on ice, so he picked it up, shoved it forward, and off we went.
Not over his head.
Oh. I thought it would be a different situation if, like, someone he loved was under the car. Like a rush of adrenaline, you know?
Nope, just regular. Yeah, it was on ice, so he slid it
Well,
over.
it was a
and-
1950s car, so that's different from, like,
Well-
the white minivan in the garage.
Well, if you think about like the
No, it was
1950s
heavy.
car,
This heavy steel.
the heavy
It was
steel.
heavy,
There
yeah.
was no
Yeah.
like stainless steel or
Right.
aluminum.
Mhm.
Oh, it was heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the retirement story with Sean?
What?
You said there was a story about his retirement.
About the not getting a pension, and not joining the union,
Poof, gone.
and like how he ended up getting money, a bit of money, even though he never got a pension after 51 years. So it'll come back, no worries. When was your mother a dressmaker in London?
Okay, my mother became a dressmaker when she was a girl, and she went to the Greenway, not a pub, but she went to the Greenway, whatever it was, and learned to become a dressmaker, and her mother paid for her to go and learn how to be a dressmaker. And so after she graduated, or whatever you do from dressmaking school, she was really talented. And she went to London to live with her sister and her husband, and she lived with them for a few years. And then she came home, and she was proposed marriage to a surveyor, and she declined him and married my father instead. So I grew up being impoverished when I could have been rich. Yeah.
What's a surveyor? What do they do?
Surveyor, they go out and they survey the landscape and, where things are up in the sky, down to earth and all that.
And like measure plots and things.
Yeah.
And they get paid a
Lots
lot.
of-
Yeah. And she worked at, was it Harvey Nicholson?
Harvey Nichols, she worked at, she worked there for years, and she made dresses for the aristocracy and everybody. I mean, Harvey Nichols was the place to work in London at that time, and she was extremely talented.
How old was she?
She would probably have been, I gotta guess, maybe 18, 19, 20.
So it was early 1900s about?
No, it would be probably, well, she was born in 1904, so that would be 1924.
So like the flapper period, right?
Yeah,
Ooh,
right.
yeah.
Oh, definitely the
Did
flapper
she make?
period.
No, she would make flapper dresses because the aristocracy didn't wear flapper dresses.
Well, I think that they might have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
because at like
did?
parties and things like that.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, they had beautiful clothes.
Mom once had a suit jacket, and grandma, within like a matter of 10, 15 minutes, lined it with silk and like perfect stitches.
Yeah.
She was an amazing dressmaker.
Yeah, she
Your
was.
grandma? You mean?
Yeah, Dad's mom.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, grandma can.
No,
do that too?
not ours.
No,
not yours, rather.
No.
Do we still have any of those dresses that she made? Or any
No,
clothing?
but he has the journal from Grandma.
Like her sketches?
Yeah, with well, I don't
It
know.
was. It wasn't so much her. It was her friends that would come and they would draw these fantastic sketches and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were really artistic. And then of course I came along and drew a spaceman. And God knows what, ruined the whole damn thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we still. I
It was brown. Have you got it?
I might. I believe I've got it in
I think
your pictures, your photo album and stuff.
I think I gave it to you.
Yes. You did.
Yeah, it's really worth seeing.
Yeah, I'll bring it over.
It's not very big, but it's only about that thick. But it is really worth looking at.
I can see that.
Yeah.
This is an unrelated question, but you know, in the Michigan house, when you go down that hallway to the basement door,
Yeah.
and then you know that framed, and then it's like a fabric embroidery thing.
Yes.
And I remember you telling me a story about a man who died in the war and they had to break his legs to get him in the coffin or something like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely
So
right.
what is that story?
Okay, that was my Aunt Doreen, her husband Ron Morris.
Are you named after him?
Yes, unfortunately. Yes. And so that was his father. And his father was a soldier at 15. And he actually went to India. And
In World War One?
prior to World War One, way prior to World War One, and he went to India, and as he grew older, so he met Lord Baden-Powell, who was the chief Boy Scout back then. He invented the Boy Scouts,
And he was
And-
British?
and he was British, and he met him, and we have a picture of him on his horse, riding a horse, and the problem was as he got older and he got arthritis, so his legs were so bowled out that they had to break his legs to get him into the coffin.
So what is that framed thing on the wall?
Okay, that was his battle flag, and it shows the battle sites that his regiment was at. Hello?